Well, as common sense slowly emerges into the decision-making of politicians, we actually now need to start thinking about addressing some of the problems that have been created in the past 18 months. For example, there's the national debt. It's forecast to peak at a staggering $1.2 trillion, and there's no sign of a surplus on the political horizon. Then we've got a staggering array of money-hungry policies that actually don't seem to be doing much good. We've got green energy funds, universal university fee relief. We've got huge welfare bills and social engineering programs. You could halve all that expenditure and still probably get better outcomes than what we've got currently. And I'd say it's the same in our broader education sector. There's more rainbow pride than civic pride in that space now. Our children are learning all about gender fluidity and know next to nothing about, say, how our political system in our nation is working. We've got supply issues in myriad of industries, including the construction industry, which is holding back new developments. It's putting upward pressure on prices. And actually, everything is going up right across the board, from foodstuffs to phones, rates to utilities. Inflation is creeping back in. You see, the money printing, it's been a result of, seen asset prices soar, making those with those assets feel wealthier. But I've got to tell you, it's only increasing the divide between those who have and those who have not. Those that have, of course, feel wealthier. Though I have to point out, it's all good and well if your home doubles in price, you feel much richer. But so have all the comparable homes. So when it comes to moving, unless you're going to downsize or relocate, you really aren't going to be any better off. But that all said, there doesn't seem to be much wages growth, despite enormous competition for workers. And I've learned that firsthand this week. I've been in regional South Australia, and nowhere is the need for workers felt more than in our regional and rural communities. And so after that week in South Australia, the businesses there, I've learned, are crying out for workers, from commercial fishers, the builders, the retail, the hospitality sectors, and the tourism sector. There are jobs aplenty. I even heard them advertised on radio. But unfortunately, there's too few people willing to fill them. And when New South Wales opens up next week partially, I expect it's going to be pretty much the same there. My friends in Queensland, well, they say they've got the same problem. And what it means is that some of our valuable agricultural exports are going to be reduced. The supply of foodstuffs to our cities will be diminished. And demand, well, that's likely to increase as our economy grows again or starts to reopen. So this is a recipe for higher prices. It is going to push up your cost of living even more. And business owners I've spoken to tell me that the problem is not actually a lack of people, but a lack of people that are willing to work. I mean, one large regional employer told me this week that if he was willing to employ potheads and stoners, then he could fill all the jobs he had. But by paying those people, the tasks he paid them for would never get done. And I ask you, what does that say about the state of our nation? We've got jobs in great communities doing the work that feeds, that entertains and generates wealth for the entire country, but no one to fill them. So how have we created an entire tier of laziness in society that thinks it's okay to demand more handouts from government while they contemplate the meaning of life in their own time? The question is, then what can the government do about it? Well, they could cut welfare payments for those not committed to meaningfully pursuing work. That's what we did in decades past. I think they should bring in mandatory drug testing for welfare recipients. I mean, if it's good enough for sports teams and for big business, why is it not good enough to protect taxpayer dollars? And the answer to that is with the Labor opposition and the kooky Greens party. They love the welfare state, and they can't create a mendicant population soon enough. Well, I say something has to change, and it's got to change soon. If we want to get Australia back to the food production powerhouse it can be and should be, if we want our regional communities to thrive and grow so that we can feed ourselves and generate jobs and wealth, then we need to make some immediate changes.